is your name, stage name, and personal pronouns?
So my stage name is Bella Noche. My boy name is Isaiah Cruz. When I'm out of drag, it is he, him. When I'm in drag, it's she, her.
All right, awesome. And then follow-up question. So what are the origins of your drag name, and when did you start doing drag?
So I started doing drag. Actually, this upcoming February will be 5 years. So about 4.5 years. I had a lot of iterations for my drag name. I've probably about 2 weeks just trying to figure it out. And so one day I was watching Lady and the Tramp, and there's that famous scene with them and the spaghetti, and the song in the background is Bella Notte, and I was like, oh, that would be a cute drag name, but I'm Puerto Rican and not Italian, so I changed the Notte to Noche, and that's how I got my name.
So, given that it is Pride Month, what does Pride mean to you, and how are you still participating despite some of the limitations that we're seeing right now?
Pride to me is being not only proud to be who you are, being free to be who you are. I grew up in a very, very um, conservative religious environment. And so my first time at Pride was one of the first times I was ever surrounded by people who were like me, and I felt safe and accepted. And so Pride it's all of that. It's feeling that you can be who you are no matter who you are, and you'll be accepted for who you are. This year Pride is very, very different, but that doesn't mean that there isn't the same spirit of Pride, if it not even stronger this year with everything that's been going on. And I've there's a number of virtual Pride shows that are being happening, that I'm a part of. I have a weekly show on Spoiled NYC. It's a weekly live talk show called Cocktails and Contours. I'm going to be doing a special Pride episode with like 4 different guests from the community. So even though we can't participate in Pride the way that we're used to participating, they can take the parade out of Pride, but they can't take our pride out of Pride.
I love that. Pride is not canceled. That's why we're doing something like this. So thank you for your time to be a part of this.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
And definitely throughout all of these interviews, for whoever is watching this, once we post it, make sure that you are checking out all of the alternatives, because we want to make sure that everybody knows that there are still things happening for Pride. But Pride also is a movement. Pride is so many things, right? And we want your opinion. So what would we be able to do as a community to create that feeling of pride? Like you said, inclusivity is something that people feel at Pride. It is a part of their heart. Do you have any specific tips that you'd like to share with your supporters of how we could, as a community, make it feel like that level of inclusivity and prideful year round?
Well, year round, especially now during quarantine, it's interesting. Since quarantine started, it just started so abruptly. And one of the things I've gotten, not only like through as far as like, with work having it halted, but also like a mental state, is that, Pride is, wherever you are, whether it's out in a parade or you're here, just by yourself waving a flag. And one of the other cool things that I feel like quarantine has done is, like, in a way, it's reminded us that we have all this technology that we can still communicate if we don't see each other. And so this month I know is going to be very, very full of people doing Pride calls and happy hours and special celebrations and things like that. But also, like, Pride Month is Pride Month, but also don't forget to keep that going throughout the whole year. Like Pride, yes, is celebrated in June, but Pride is something that we celebrate all year. So, don't forget when it's July and you haven't spoken to, the people you were just at with for virtual Pride Week, say like, hey, let's do like a little Zoom call this weekend, half an hour. It doesn't take much, but it's so important now to just stay, and I say stay connected. And it's almost ironic because, everyone's more connected than ever before. But I would stay social. Just because you're not standing 5 feet apart from someone doesn't mean you can't, still hang out with your friends.
And how are those things making you feel?
Well, it's interesting. Drag is now, I would say, part of, almost the mainstream of culture, where drag is everywhere now. I would say some of the misconnotations of drag is that it's easy. It is not. It is a lot of work, is a lot of dedication, is a lot of money investment if you wanted like actually make this a career. And I think that that's the less one. The other one that I kind of have heard and vastly disagree with is that lip syncing is not a skill. It definitely is a skill, and it's one that you have to like work at and practice, because not only are you memorizing lines, you're emoting in someone else's voice. So people who think that lip syncing is easy, it is not. Especially if you want to put on a show and be entertaining. I think another misconception is, for people watching, that drag queens want to be girls. And there are a number of trans women who participate in the art of drag. But I think for the most part, like, guys that do drag don't want to be girl. Like this takes a lot. Like me doing this every day, no, and that's why we get paid to do it. And as far as it making me feel like, one of the things that drag has definitely done for me is it's allowed me to have not only a thicker skin about what people say and check, and allowing myself to check my own emotions about it, but it's kind of given me a lens of being able to just, okay, that's someone's opinion, and okay, that person was being mean, okay, that person was trying to help, and so I've learned to take what other people say and think with lots of grains of salt, and especially if the first reaction is making you feel bad or angry or hurt, that's when you probably have to stop the most and be like, okay, before we completely invest into this set of emotions that's probably going to launch into a downward spiral, let's make sure that this is valid. So yeah, I think that you're entitled to your emotions, but don't let them get the better of you.
What makes you so passionate about drag art?
So when I first started doing drag, it was completely by accident. I was only going to do it once, just to do it. I was working in nightlife, and I had made drag queen friends, and she's my drag auntie. Her name is Sutton Seymour. She's a fabulous drag queen, and she used to do great name. She used to do a first timer show twice a year, where guys who had never done drag before get into drag for the first time, do a number, ta-da, and so she suggested that I do it, and a few of my friends were like, oh, I'll do it. She's like, yeah, I'll do it, we'll help you. So I had someone help out with my makeup and my hair and stuff like that, because I'd seen enough drag at that point where I was like, okay, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it right. I'm gonna do it once and go out on top. And so I did it. I had choreography, I did a reveal, and so that night a bartender from another bar came up to me and was like, hey, they just started drag shows uptown, and they're looking for new guests, people that, queens that no one's seen before. Would you be interested? And I was like, sure. And it just snowballed from there. So doing drag was not on the plan of things to do, but drag has proved to be the culmination of every little thing that I'm good at, that I had no idea why I was good at it. And they've all culminated into, this is why you're good at it. You're supposed to be a drag queen. So that's why I do it.
Things kind of come together, and in such a fun, creative outlet.
It is really interesting, because I was in college to be a forensic scientist, and then I went on to get a writing degree, and I was in PR and doing social media. But I'd always had this thing like, yeah, it would be fun to be a performer. I'd wanted to be a performer ever since I was a little kid. So sometimes they say you're just like meant to do something, and so it's kind of crazy. When I first started realizing, I was like, oh wow, like I'm just inherently good at a number of these things that like a drag queen's supposed to be good at.
Place to your strengths. You mentioned before about how some of the things surrounding the community, as far as how people interact with people in the community, it can take a toll when people are hateful and things like that. And for us as a suicide prevention and mental health charity, we talk a lot about what mental health means to people. So what does mental health mean to you, and how has it impacted you?
So mental health is such an important and under-discussed topic, not only in the United States, but in the world. And the issue, I think the biggest issue with mental health is that the resources for people with mental health issues are not readily available to the people that need it, even in just far as like getting diagnosed, the people that are going around wondering why they feel or act certain ways, and they don't realize that they have something up with them that can be treated and become something that's manageable and not having the effects on their lives. And we just came out of Mental Health Awareness Month, and I did a number of charity bingo shows that were raising money for different charities having to do with mental health and awareness for it. Especially though, as an artist, as a creative, your brain and your heart, I think, are more connected than the average person. And so to everyone out, there's good advice for everyone out there, but especially to the creatives, the ones that have that bond with their head and their heart. Like, what's going on in your brain absolutely affects what you're putting out into the world. And I think so many people are scared just to admit first that something's wrong, and then do the step to themselves. And the step further is like, ask for help. So I would, I think the biggest takeaway for me would be like, don't be scared to ask somebody for help or to talk to someone about it. And I feel like so many people, if they felt like they had the openness to have this conversation with somebody, I feel like a lot more people would be able to not only help people that they love, but also get them like medical help if they need it.
Yeah, and I think that for anybody that is passionate about that is watching this right now, and I love that you brought up Mental Health Awareness Month, because I think it brings us also to that idea of Pride Month. Mental Health Awareness Month gets its spotlight, but people feel their mental health and their mental health struggles year round. So if you're somebody who's interested in getting involved in that, though, in learning about mental health parity, which is kind of what you're talking about, in the fact that we need to have better resources available.
Oh yeah, that's the biggest problem, is that we don't have enough people to help the people that need help,
Exactly. And if you are somebody who's passionate about that, if you're somebody watching this right now, please consider volunteering with us. Consider getting involved in advocacy. Consider getting involved in, again, kind of like you're saying, play to your strengths. Reach out to us and tell us your favorite thing in the world. I used to always tell volunteers, tell me your college major and I can tell you which part you're going to be most passionate about. So
that's cool. I like that.
It helps people, I think, to hone in their personal skills. But I think it's important that people hear that message, that you can reach out for help. And you gave a lot of different, very creative options of how to do that. So thank you.
You're welcome.
What are some of your favorite ways of practicing self-care?
Oh, well, it's interesting, especially so when before the pandemic and the quarantine, I was working probably between easily 4 to 6 days a week. And self-care was something that like I had to remind myself to do. There would be times where I would go, 6 days straight, have one day off, and then back into another like 5-day week. And self-care it's not always, like drawing a bath and putting on a mask and putting in bubbles, even though I love that. But self-care is like making sure that you take time to do the things that you want to do. People are so caught up in being productive, being busy, being, building something, doing whatever. They forget it's just like, you're allowed to like take, 4 or 5 hours and just like watch something stupid on TV. Go ahead and take a way too long shower. Like, go and, binge watch makeup tutorials on YouTube for a few hours and try something, like it's about doing something that stimulates the part of your brain that usually doesn't get enough stimulation, because we're always so task oriented about doing what we need to do to get through the day that we forget about what we want to do. So I think the best thing you can do is for yourself as far as self-care is, especially now we're all at home, like give yourself some time. Don't, turn off the news, turn off the laptop for a little bit and just put on like a movie that, that is like probably like a bad movie, but you love it. Just do it for yourself.
Yes. Practicing self-care. So important. Catching your brain and making sure that you are telling yourself it's okay. If you're indulging, if you feel like you're indulging, just taking care of yourself, it might be time to change our frame of mind around how we're living. And as hard as it's been to be in a pandemic, I think it's given a lot of us an opportunity to reflect on that. And at the same time, it's also changed a lot. We're going through a very stressful time right now, and we're going through a lot of change, and some change that really needs to happen. Given that there is a lot right now, is there a positive message that you would like to share to whoever might be watching this today?
Oh, absolutely. And one of the things that's gotten me through a lot of the things in my life, from, you know, being kicked out after coming out to, you know, putting myself through college, and just, you know, everyone has their own struggles, but every time a situation changes, every time something, you feel like your life is over, you feel like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Find the silver lining. There's silver linings everywhere, and they help you get through the most difficult situations ever. Like this quarantine, I find like a new silver lining every week. Like I have spent more like FaceTime with people who I haven't seen in years, and spent more time talking to them than I can't even remember when. And that's a silver lining. You know, I've had to be creative. So, you know, I've created more, you know, numbers to do with drag. I've been styling more outfits. I've been learning more wigs, you know, take time for creative stuff. I started a garden in the back. Like I'm a city girl. Like I've always dreamed about having a garden, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can plant a garden. And so, you know, find something that you've always wanted to do. Silver linings. Probably wouldn't have done them if it wasn't for this pandemic. So no matter how crazy, no matter how stressful, no matter how tight and hard pressed you feel, there's always a silver lining. And so find that silver lining, because it'll help carry you through, even if it's just getting you through the day, you know? So that would be my advice.
Yeah, one day at a time, 1 minute at a time, right? That's all we can do.
Yeah, sometimes it's one breath at a time, but you got this. You can get through it.
Again, if you're watching this and you are struggling right now, given everything going on, there will be a toolkit in the description box for you. Not just in general, it is for you specifically. Whoever is watching
For
this
you.
is part of it. For you. All right. The last thing is not a super formal question, but we just want to invite you to plug anything that social media account, upcoming events.
So you can find me on my social media handle, Bella Noche NYC, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I usually post about all of my events there. Monday nights, I do a live Facebook show where me and my boyfriend, my boyfriend is a virologist. And so he kind of gives a weekly like COVID-19 update, what's been going on. You can ask questions. Well, I will answer them live. Every Wednesday, I have a show on Spoil NYC's Facebook Live called Cocktails and Contours. It's a virtual drag talk show. I've been doing it for almost 4 years now. And so every night, that's Mondays is at 9. Wednesdays, Cocktails and Contours is every Wednesday at 7. And then every Friday, I do a themed bingo with Hitch LI, which is an artist shop out here in Suffolk County. And so every week at 8 o'clock, there's a different themed bingo. This week, it's Toga Bingo. So yeah, we have a good time, and we give away cash gift cards. So yeah, it's fun, and you can win some money.